Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, very happy to welcome, and it's been too long, Tara Setmayer to the show, co-founder of the Seneca Project. You know her from cable news appearances and so much work over the years in the world of politics. Tara, nice to see you. Congratulations on the new Seneca Project.
Thank you, Dean. It's really been an incredible journey. My co-founder, Michelle Kinney, and I started the Seneca Project back in June because we
Hmm.
decided that women needed a larger voice and presence in the election, and we're fighters, and we wanted to get that killer messaging out there and galvanize women to try to help save our democracy. Obviously, we didn't get the result that we wanted in the election, but we were glad
Hmm.
to see down ballot races and some initiatives codifying women's reproductive rights in most states except for Florida, but of course it's Florida. And heading into this new reality that we're all living in, we are trying to lead that charge to resist, and we're not backing down. No one's going to send us back to the 1800s when women didn't have any rights. And so we're still here and doing what we do and putting out our killer content and hoping we can galvanize folks to join us.
I think it's vitally important because on some level you could be fighting the same fights. Well, we see this very much. Seneca Falls Convention was 1848, and it was the first about women's rights, and voting rights were a big part of that. And look, the Republicans already have stripped women of self-determination when it comes to reproductive freedom in 14 states. They ban abortion
Yep.
at day one of conception. So the fight, it never ends. The aggressive
Never
powers want
ends.
to go back. Like this
That's
is their
right.
dream. They're
It
always
oh it is. And I mean, we were sounding the alarm. Like, part of why we were inspired to start the Seneca Project was because we didn't feel that there were enough people who fully understood the urgency of now. It
Mhm.
was a lack of imagination for a lot of people that helped, I think, Donald Trump get elected again, because people were like, oh, he's not going to run again. And there's no way anyone's going to vote for him. He just got convicted of 34 felonies. And we were like, listen, okay, everything he's saying he will do, he will do. Oh, he's not going to
Yep.
just decapitate the government. He's not going to appoint Cash Patel. And he's not going to. And we were warning. I mean, they gave us the playbook. Project
Yep.
2025 was the playbook. They spent 4 years developing this thing, and they were proud of it. And so, I didn't want to, I hate to be like, well, we told you so, but we freaking told you so. So
I
we've
think that's
got to keep
fine. You
the
should
fight
tell.
going.
So tell people a little bit more about the Seneca Project before we talk about the speech last night
Yeah.
and what you're working on now. So what is the big mission and mandate of the Seneca Project?
Yeah. So, we've had to adjust a little bit. When we first started, we were really embracing the idea of bipartisanship. Many people know that I was a
Hmm.
longtime Republican. I spent
Uh-huh.
27 years, almost 30 in the party. And then I was a prolific never Trump voice, still within the party, but I never supported Donald Trump from day one. I was like,
Right.
what? I'm from Jersey. I know this guy. Are you kidding me? And we all know what happened the first time around. And I tried to fight from within to hold the party accountable, because I'm like, you guys aren't going to be able to gaslight me or bullshit me, because I was there. I know you people. I know what you used to believe before. So you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes. So I was trying to be kind of a conscience for the party and hold them accountable, like my good friend Michael Steele. But there were so many things that happened during the first Trump administration where I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this representing Republicans. And then the final straw was, representing the principles of Republicans. I
Right.
was, the party was leaving me quickly. And then after Trump refused to concede the election, I said, I'm done. You guys, nothing is sacrosanct. Even a constitutional crisis potentially here with this guy, and you're still going to go along with this. You believe nothing. You're political nihilists. I want nothing to do with you. And I very publicly left the party on November 5th of 2020, I believe it was, or 6th, whatever the day after the election was last time. And I said, I'm out. And I've never regretted it. And I think the party should burn to the ground.
Right.
So, but I still do. I consider myself to be an independent.
Hmm.
I still hold certain conservative worldviews on how to legislate things, or especially on
Hmm.
foreign policy. More traditional
Right.
Republican viewpoints, but it's really not about policy for me anymore. The policy differences with my Democratic friends do not really matter. We're all on the same side of fighting to preserve our constitutional republic and our democracy and our basic human rights here. And so all the silly policy differences from before, they are really inconsequential at this point, when we are literally facing an existential threat. So when we started Seneca, my co-founder, Michelle Kinney, she comes from Democratic world.
Hmm.
And, but we were both right and left of center. So we wanted to speak to those right and left of center women on both sides to be like, listen, what's happening to women doesn't matter if you have an R or a D next to your name.
Right.
This is a threat to all of us. It
Mm-hmm.
transcends party lines. If you're bleeding out in the parking lot of a hospital because that the state you live in has now criminalized women's reproductive care, they don't give a damn who you voted for. They don't care
Right.
what's next to your name. So this impacts all of us. And even those women who, cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. A lot of women vote against their own interests. We're even doing this for you. Like we'll take it on to fight for the rights for all of us, even you people who have decided that you're going to vote against your own interests. And so that was really our push was the bipartisan aspect of this. Like we're all in this together. Well, after the election, we needed to recalibrate because
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, we don't really see any good faith actors on the Republican side anymore. Like there were some opportunities there, but at this point, the threat is so dire that we are not leaning as much into the bipartisan part of this as in the we're Americans and we are fighting for our survival as a democratic and free country. And we are going to do whatever it takes. And whoever wants to join us, great. But we're focused on galvanizing not just women, because we are a women-led organization and we're speaking to women, not at
Mm-hmm.
them, which a lot of organizations unfortunately do. But we also, from the perspective of women, are out here like warriors fighting for our democracy. And so we've expanded a little bit uh, our reach as far as the subjects that we've leaned into. We've gone after Elon, we've gone after Trump on Ukraine, because
Mm-hmm.
all of these things matter. It's under the democracy defending space that we're in. And we're killer ad makers. And so
I've
uh,
seen the
you
stuff
know,
on YouTube. It's very good. I've seen the clips. I'm chatting with Tara Setmayer, co-founder of the Seneca Project. What is it like as someone who was a Republican, and I imagine probably like Ronald Reagan a great deal, who stood
yeah,
with the Soviet Union and watched Donald Trump side with Putin over a leader of a democracy that is being attacked and ravaged by Putin?
I've got to tell you, it's I mean, there's been so many times over the last 9 years where I've been mortified by Republicans standing behind Donald Trump, just completely destroying Republican orthodoxy. And, Reagan used to be the Reagan legacy, used to be sacrosanct. Again, it was like the pocket constitutions and Reagan. Like those were unmovable things for
Right.
Republicans until Donald Trump, where nothing matters anymore. And I've said a few times on air recently that Ronald Reagan is going to jump up out of his grave and run down Pennsylvania Avenue and like smack Donald Trump out of the Oval Office because you can't
I would
get,
look forward to that.
imagine, you just cannot get
Right.
any more opposite of what Republicans use. If anybody questioned whether there was any ounce of the old Republican Party, of like your dad's Republican Party left, these latest moves and comments by Donald Trump against Zelensky, basically turning the Oval Office into a Kremlin echo chamber, should squash any notion of that. It is completely dead and gone, and the complete opposite. And the frustrating part is that so many, like Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham, they're cowards, they're hypocrites, they know better. And not only have they been enablers in this, because I blame them. Trump has
Mm-hmm.
always been who he is. I blame the enablers in the party for letting this happen. Mitch
Sure.
McConnell, I'm talking to you, and Kevin McCarthy and all the rest of you that could have gotten rid of this guy after January 6th, and we wouldn't be here now. But they are now collaborators, and shame on them. And the history books are not going to be kind to any of them. So it's like a mission for me and for what we're doing at Seneca to make sure that we stand up for what this country was supposed to represent. And I know there are millions of Americans out there, as imperfect as we are, but there are millions of Americans out here who feel the way we do and who are looking for fighters and for people to be their voice. They're
Right.
looking for it. And that's the posture that we're taking. We're like warrior women. And,
That's great.
yeah, I mean, listen, I'm from Jersey, so I'm no punk.
Right.
And my co-founder, Michelle Kinney, she's a New Yorker. We have a certain swag. Dean, you know this. You're from
New
Jersey.
Jersey guy. That's what
We're
we do.
right. Like we're bringing
I
that
speak
energy.
bluntly. People are like surprised when I say things. They go, I'm not saying it to be inflammatory. This is just, I'm very blunt. I'm from Jersey. This is how we speak. When I was on
Yeah.
Eamon show recently, I said, Donald Trump's a scumbag. You've got to be honest about it. And everyone's
Right.
like, what? I'm like, That's what he is. I don't know
Right.
why is that. Why is anyone going like, why are you saying that? The
Right.
guy's a scumbag.
I
He's a
call him a
piece of
traitorous.
garbage.
I called him a traitorous bastard on I think it was Eamon's show too. I'm sorry, it's a Sunday night, it's the family hour,
Right.
but I'm like, look, it is what it is, and
Yeah.
that was in response to the Enrico Tario and these Proud Boys that have been pardoned, going after the
Terrorists.
January 6th officers. Right,
Yep.
they're domestic
These are
terrorists,
terrorists.
and I said, what an affront. And I said, I come from a law enforcement family. And so this is particularly personal for me, not just as an
Right.
American, but as the wife and granddaughter of law enforcement officers.
Um,
I'm like, how dare they? I'm like, and people, Republicans are defending Donald
mhm.
Trump pardoning these traitorous bastards. So I say it often because we can on cable news. So
You've got it. I mean, and look, when you talk about who contribute to getting us to where we are, I think corporate media, and there are some great people in corporate media, but I think the executives who want Donald Trump have laid the groundwork. I mean, except for a few Democrats here and there was nothing yes talked about. Well, Donald Trump is the first convicted felon to do a joint address of Congress, the
yeah.
first person charged with attempting a coup, the first person who was in charge that was found by a court to engage in an insurrection,
Mm-hmm.
or adjudicated rapist, or pardoned terrorists who attacked our capital. These are all things they could have said, but corporate media won't say that. And if you talk about it, and I go on sometimes, some of the anchors are like, "That's so in the past." I'm like, "It's only in the past because you guys whitewash it. It should
Listen,
not." So I'm corporate media to me
it's
very
yes,
frustrating.
yes, very. And you and I both have spent plenty of time on the airwaves. I was a CNN contributor for 6 years.
Wow, six
I
years. I didn't know
spent,
that. Yeah.
yeah, from 2015 to 2021, to the when Joe Biden was inaugurated, and during the whole Trump era the first time, and then into the election of 2020. And just, and I have a lot of, well, not as many friends anymore. Most of the people who I was close with at CNN are gone now,
Yeah.
for all kinds of reasons. And when they changed leadership, it was clear the direction they were going in, and it's frustrating. There's a handful that still are trying to be honest about what's going on, just some of the some of the whitewashing. You're right, insane washing of what's going on. I have a new Substack. It's called Uncompromised with Tara Setmayer. I'm kind of
Oh, that's
new.
good.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to the Substack space, and I was thinking of, what am I going to call it? Because everybody has these like cool names, that are catchy. And I looked at my friend Jim Acosta and what
Hmm.
he did, and him standing up, speaking of people who did not compromise themselves in the corporate media space. Jim Acosta was one of those people. Don Lemon is another one, and there were a couple others who they are, and they were not going to bow down to that. And, they were not going to obey in advance, which is one of our big phrases at Seneca Project. We actually have merch that says "Do not obey in advance"
That's
from
great.
from Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. And I looked around, and there are these folks, those of us who are independents, right? Independent media like you, Dean, and others, where there's this whole ecosystem of independent voices that did not compromise themselves the way that corporate media and the legacy groups have. And Jim Acosta came to mind when I was getting ready to do this, and I was like, uncompromised. There it is. So we're
That's a
simpatico
good
that
thing.
way.
I and I
Yeah,
think the rise of independent media is so important.
key.
And we watch corporate media, and all of us get frustrated to the point where there's a reason why CNN and MS's ratings have dropped. MS regained some of their audience a little bit post-election, but CNN really hasn't. And they've made a
No.
choice to do political theater with the worst. I mean, and it's not even picky on it. This is just a fact. They cast Scott Jennings as the villain. I mean, it's
Yes.
like a TV show, a melodrama, or like a
Hmm.
soap opera. So they've really done it, and it insults the intelligence because everyone watching it go like, "This is not real. This guy
Right.
used to be like a McConnell guy. He was not like this." So he's just giving them what they want, and it's pure theater. And the stakes are too high. At different times, you can play theater. The stakes are too high for theater, and that's why it doesn't ring. Nothing on that network rings true to me. I don't watch it at all. And I used to write for it. I wrote for it for 10 years till they got rid of
I
CNN
remember.
Opinion last year when they were doing budget cuts. And part of it was that I learned from the inside that there are too many opinion articles by the contributors that were critical of Trump. And so instead of getting rid of the people who were pro Trump, they got rid of all of it. And then at some point, I'm sure they're going to bring it back, but with different people.
Yeah, I mean, I do not appear on CNN as often as I used to, for
Mhm.
obvious reasons, given my
Right.
position on things. And I recently did Abby Phillips' show because I like Abby and
Mhm.
I'm here to support her where I can. I think they've miscast her in that role. I think she deserves better than that Jerry Springer like show that they've put her in. She's too smart for that, but it is what it is. And I was on with Scott Jennings, and it was the day that Dan Bongino was named the deputy director of the FBI. And I turned to Scott and to Joe Borelli, who was another Republican from New York who used to be sane, but has
Mhm.
now sold his soul to be on Team MAGA like the rest of them. And I turned to both of them and said, both of you know good and hell damn well that you would never defend the record, the temperament, the hostility, the language, all of the things that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have said if this were Democrats. I said, you guys are
Of course.
hypocrites. And how dare you? And I said, what an affront to all of the FBI agents and the federal law enforcement officers and the people who actually uphold the oath
Right.
that they take, that you guys are sitting here defending this. You're full of it. And, they don't get that really from many people. I'm not a contributor for them anymore. And I probably won't be invited back for a while because I don't take any crap from them on that show. And
Right.
people are afraid if you're a fellow contributor, they can't push that far because I got castigated a few times in 2016 because of how hard I used to drag Kayleigh McEnany, who
Oh,
was
that's interesting.
like the person who is now the president of MSNBC was the head of contributors in 2016.
Oh,
And
I know who that is. I don't know the
mhm,
person personally. I know the name. She was a
yeah,
booker at one point,
yeah,
and she
she's
booked me
had
on.
quite the rise.
Right, she used to book me on some shows. I have no interaction in the years, and I doubt she remembers me. But in any event,
Yeah,
I'm chatting with my friend Tara Setmeyer. So Tara, let's talk about a little bit the speech last night. Full disclosure, I didn't watch it. I read a lot of the transcript, and I saw clips of it. But it was a Trump rally. I don't watch Trump rallies. That was not a State of the Union. I knew what it was going to be. I knew he would lie, Putin talking points, a lot of bullshit,
yeah.
and they did that. Any takeaway for you, or if there's nothing in the speech that's meaningful, honestly, um, any takeaway to the Democratic reaction to what happened in the chamber?
I wish I could have avoided watching it, but given what
I
we do
can't.
with the Seneca Project, we
I
had to.
understand. Right.
And we also do a live stream show called The Stakes every Thursday at 7:30 on our YouTube channel. And so we did a special edition. We needed to react because our people wanted to hear from us. We're
I
considered trusted
understand.
voices. So we're like,
Right.
we're gonna suffer through this for you so you don't have to. And I have to say, I used to be a Hill staffer and I was a communications director for 7 years in Capitol Hill. And I used to go to the State of the Union. It's the fake State of the Union.
Right. I understand.
For all intents and purposes, it's a
Right.
State
It
of the
looks like a
Union.
stadium. Right.
And I've been to 7 of them and I used to love it. This
Wow.
is back in the day when like things were sane. And I used to love it, the pomp and circumstance of it. And I'm a creature of Capitol Hill. I really revere what all of that represents in the history. And January 6th hit me very, very hard for a number of reasons, like many people. But running through those hallways and knowing what that represents and just the all of that, and then to see Donald Trump back in that space and to see Republicans clapping for him, it was grotesque. It was grotesque. And my heart broke for all the Capitol Police officers who were there on January 6th that have to still defend these guys who dishonor them in every way by
Yep.
supporting Donald Trump, and him to have the audacity to demagogue the issue of law enforcement, just like they demagogue the issue of the military, where he has no respect for any of them unless they're his Praetorian Guard doing what he wants,
Hmm.
like Nazi Gestapos. And it was really tough to watch that display. And then to see, I understood Al Green's protest. I was concerned that it would backfire a little bit because even though the other side gets away with murder all the time,
Hmm.
as soon as Democrats do something like that, it gives Republicans the opportunity to say, look at how they acted. This was against decorum, and they were rude, and they couldn't even clap for the kid with cancer. And I was just like, this was a setup for Democrats. And I was of the school of thought that they should not attend,
At
um,
all.
at
Like
all.
nobody.
No, I
Interesting.
thought they should not attend, but I knew that was too bold for them because I'm of the thought, and I wrote this in my Substack beforehand. I said, listen, if Democrats need to not use the same political tactics of yesteryear. This moment commands different, more aggressive tactics. There's nothing normal about anything that's going on
Right.
here. So you can't have a normal reaction. Stop normalizing this shit. So I'm sorry. So anyway,
It's fine.
I was like, you guys, you just have to do something different. And I keep telling people, you got to fight like Republicans. I'm not saying the policy, the tactics. You need to learn how to do this because it works. And so that would have been something drastic, and have an alternative. Gather on the steps of the Capitol with the people, with examples of federal workers and farmers and people and veterans, like the people you wouldn't expect to be hurt by these things, because those are supposed to be the people Trump supported, and he loves the veterans and the farmers, right? Oh, you do? Well, look at these are the people you're hurting right now. You really don't give a damn about this. Elon Musk, your crony, is decapitating our government and hurting everyday people that you claim to support. So they should have had an alternative and take the spectacle off of Trump. Don't give him the opportunity to use you guys as props, which is what he did. Now, I know I was like, look, if they're going to go, then you need to be in silence. No glad handing, none of that. But if Al Green or someone else was going to protest, and there's civil disobedience has a place. So, okay, fine. If that's where you're going to use it, then when he was removed by the sergeant at arms, which I found to be very alarming, it bothered me. I didn't like to see a black congressman being talked down to by a Southern Speaker of the House telling him, to sit down. It gave me very slave master ick vibes. But to have the sergeant at arms come and remove a member of Congress from a joint session? Are you kidding me? Every Democrat should have gotten up and walked out in solidarity with him. That would have given them the opportunity to do something different in solidarity with their brethren there, because how dare they? They showed up, right? It's a constitutional duty kind of that you got to go and do this. So I understand why they showed up, but there should have been a plan that as soon as Donald Trump started to attack them or did something like that and create a spectacle, they were under no obligation to stay there and be props for his Trump rally. And that's what ended up happening. Because what happens when you don't clap for the kid with cancer, right? What are you supposed to do? Even though we know he was using him as a prop, which bothered me also.
He's like, yes, I saw the kid looked happy and surprised that Trump said, when I make you the head of Secret Service.
I mean, it was heartwarming, I was like, wow,
but that's great. And then if he's the head of Secret Service, but if Trump incites another insurrection, he'll be beaten to a pulp by Trump supporters. But getting back to what you said, my instincts were, Al Green. First of all, I can tell you, listeners to my show, we want fighters, right?
Yes.
You can pick and choose all day about what's the right thing to do.
Right.
But holding up little signs isn't the decorum breaking that you need.
No.
But everyone should have walked out with Al Green. I agree 100%. And that would have sent a message. The problem is Democrats are not a unified party in terms of that kind of stuff. A lot of them brought people there, and they're not going to want to leave them. There's that kind of human dynamic of all. Unless you tell them, look, you can stay the rest of the speech. I'm going to walk out. I'll see you outside. We'll get a hamburger outside, something like that.
Plan.
Right. But there's no plan.
Right.
And that's the problem. Democrats being Democrats. I talked to Congressman Mark Pocan. He goes, Democrats being Democrats, people just did whatever they wanted. I'm like, but you're a House Democratic Caucus. Shouldn't you have a plan? I mean,
there's a common enemy here. This shouldn't be hard. You know who the enemy is, and they've shown you the playbook. You have a copy of it. And also you have an opposition party that trolled you and made your lives miserable for years when you guys were in the majority and when Barack Obama was president. The Democrats were the victims of the tactics of Republicans who were very successful at making the Democrats' lives difficult when they were in the minority. There's ways to do this. That's why when I say fight like Republicans, there's a playbook for how Republicans did it, and it was very successful for them. So they need to get out of their same, what they're comfortable with. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to play the game you're in, or else you're going to get left on the field. And that requires offense all the time. I often say that defense may win championships, but offense wins elections. And Donald Trump and Republicans understand that, which is why they double and triple down, even when they are so wrong. But look what it's gotten them. And Democrats have the benefit of being right on the bigger issues. So it's like, we're not talking about do the same things and be dishonest and hypocrites and be like fascists. No, we're talking about you're right on the issues and defend democracy, defend defend the American people, defend the federal workers that are being hurt by this, because it cascades down to communities all over the country. Take those people
Absolutely.
that they brought, right? They brought federal workers there.
Hmm.
How many people know that? How many? What did they do with
You
them?
have to read Politico. You have to
Yeah,
read The
like
Hill. If you're
no,
not reading The Hill or Politico,
I
you have no idea.
I'm like, why did you not have an event on the west lawn of the Capitol or on the east steps of the Capitol with these people telling their stories? It doesn't matter. Bringing them is, again, it's a worthless act if they're anonymously sitting in the gallery and there's no presence. Then
Yep.
every time Donald Trump lied, which there was a lot, but
Oh my
lied
God.
about like, oh, how wonderful Elon Musk was and how wonderful these cuts are, and gaslighting the American people, there should have been a plan. Then at least then have those people stand up and say, like, you lie, my life has been ruined, and stand up and walk out. Every time he did that, they should have had groups of people that represented the topics, because it's not like you didn't know what he was going to talk about. Get them to stand up, and the people who brought them, and walk out with them. Like I don't understand why. I just
I
it's
agree.
hard.
I,
I
I,
don't
I
know.
agree. And it's also interesting when they interrupted Biden so many in the last two times,
Mm-hmm.
Biden engaged them. Trump just stood there with mush brain. Like he
Yeah.
just stood there and his brain can't function quick enough anymore. It's mushy. And he's
Yeah.
like,
He looked terrible.
why is a black man talking?
I
That kind of stuff.
know.
So Tara, last thing, I have other questions, but we're running out of time. But
Yeah.
tell people if they want to find out more about the Seneca Project, what's the website and what's next for you guys?
Yes. Thank you for that. Well, Seneca Project is senecaproject.us.
Hmm.
That's our website, and you can go there if you and see some of our work. We also have a YouTube channel. If you like our work, please like and subscribe. But we also we're a super PAC, so we run on donations. And if folks like our content and want to support what we're doing and keep us going, we would greatly appreciate that. If that's not an option for you, and we understand that these are tough times, please share our work, spread the word. We were the creators of a viral ad at the end of last election called American Girl.
Hmm.
And it was really shocking to us that that ad touched so many people. I mean, we had Hollywood celebrities, and we were contacted about possibly showing that ad at Kamala Harris's final rally in Philly. Like it
Wow.
really made the rounds. And it was something that Michelle and I are very proud of. I'm the CEO, Michelle's the chief creative officer. And we just, as women, felt that that was an anthem. And it
Hmm.
still is. And we're actually getting ready to re-release American Girl because it is Women's History Month. No matter what
Yep.
MAGA tries to do, they will never erase our history or Black history or Hispanic history or the history of anyone that's not a white male in this country. We will
Right.
not allow them to erase that.
I agree.
But our content is key. You have to have messengers that are fighters, because you have to meet people where they are in their heads and their hearts and turn their fear to outrage to action. And it starts with getting people invested. So if you can find us on all the socials at Seneca Project US and check out our content. Right now, we have a video about Ukraine out. It's called Useful Idiots.
I saw that.
And
Very good.
going after what Trump did to Zelensky, which was completely embarrassing and unacceptable. And we just need to do whatever it takes. And that's our mission here at the Seneca Project. And we hope that folks will support us.
Great. And we will. And as more things come out, you and Michelle, you're always welcome on the show to come on or just to come on to about politics. But congratulations, senecaproject.us. Check it out. Have a great night, my friend. So good seeing you.
Thank you, Dean. Anytime.